Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. The government of the Virgin Islands continues to celebrate the life and legacy of the late Honorable H. Lavity Stoutt and will be observing once again, this time, the 23rd anniversary of this commemorative occasion on March 5th. Mr. Stoutt, considered as one of the territory's greatest visionary leaders, will be remembered in a number of activities, and you, the public, are invited to come out and participate. Today, I'm joined by two ladies who knew him very well in different capacities, of course. I'm joined today by Permanent Secretary within the Premier's office to discuss the Premier's office role in this celebration, as well as the former Secretary to Mr. Stoutt, Mrs. Beverly Hodge-Smith. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites.
It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. You're watching 284 Media out of Tortola in the Virgin Islands. As mentioned, we are this year once again celebrating the 23rd commemorative celebration of the late Honorable H. Lavity Stoutt. And as I mentioned, I'm joined by two lovely ladies who would have known him very well, but they're serving today in different capacities. I'm joined by Permanent Secretary within the Premier's office, Mrs. Carolyn Stoutt-Igwe. P.S. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ron, for having us.
It's always a pleasure. And Mrs. Beverly Hodge-Smith, former Secretary to the Honorable H. Lavity Stoutt. Mrs. Hodge-Smith, welcome as well.
Thank you.
Now, as I mentioned, you both knew him in different capacities, but I want to begin, P.S., by really putting into perspective the role of the Premier's office in this commemorative celebration for which you are representing today.
Okay, so we have a number of public holidays annually in the Virgin Islands. And a couple years ago, Cabinet made a decision to assign responsibility for spearheading the activities for different holidays. H. Lavity Stoutt birthday is one of those that the Premier's office is responsible for coordinating, so thus my role here today.
All right, and tell us about the activities, of course, from March 5th to 6th. Tell us about the activities that will be commemorating his life and legacy.
Okay, so this year we wanted to do something differently. We didn't want the traditional ceremony. So we decided there's always a wreath laying ceremony, so we decided that we would do a church service. He worshipped at Zion Hill Methodist. He was a Methodist, he was a Methodist preacher actually. So we are going back to Zion Hill Methodist Church this year for a church service. We're going to participate in their church service. The focus will be on remembering his legacy. During that ceremony, we will be honoring at least 2 persons who would have served from the community on the inaugural committee that organized events prior to government taking over the celebration. And immediately after the ceremony, after the service, we will be having the wreath laying ceremony at the Capone's Bay Burial Ground.
Understood.
Then the grand celebration. I'm excited to say that we are having this year a production at the college, a theatrical production to be exact. We are having a skit, Countryman Comes to Town, Keep the Vision Moving. That's actually the theme for this year, but it comes from the skit, Countryman Comes to Town. And for the overall theme, it's Countryman Comes to Town, Keep the Vision Moving. We're gonna have a drama, of course, depicting HL's life from boyhood to his political career. And then we're going to have, it's going to be interspersed with some musical, some music, dance, and song.
Okay.
In between, we have a special commemorative choir this year that will be rendering selections on Sunday as well as Monday, but it's shaping up to be grand.
I can see that, of course. As you mentioned, the wreath-laying ceremony is definitely a staple, but this year the committee is doing something different, which I totally appreciate.
And I forgot poetry.
Okay.
Very important.
Wonderful.
We have the poet laureate, Dr. Georges, and of course, the premier. He will be a poet on Monday. Not the politician, the poet on Monday.
Understood. Now, P.S., what is most important, or what would you like the general public to understand about these activities as we remember the late H.L. Stoutt?
I want persons to remember that as Virgin Islanders, we should never forget those who have served. Many persons have served this country. H.L., yes, he was the first chief minister, but at the time of his death, he was the longest serving political leader in the Caribbean, having been first elected in 1957, and it was 10 years later that he was first elected. He was first appointed as our first chief minister, but he had been serving from 1957, and he served consecutively as the representative for that district from 1957 to 1995 at the time of his sudden passing.
And that's the first district?
That's the first district. So that kind of legacy we should never forget.
All right, and Mrs. Hodge-Smith, you worked very closely with the late Honorable H. Lively Stoutt as his former secretary. Who was H.L. as a professional?
H.L. Stoutt, and I've always said, I've said to many people, I've said it to my children, one of the greatest leaders this country has ever seen. And in my opinion, I can't see the future, but I have yet to see anyone walking in those footsteps, and I'm not ashamed to say it's what I see. He was a man who loved his country, a man who loved people, a man whose focus was on the development of country and his people, and he would do whatever he needed to be done to accomplish those things for the betterment of the country. I mean, H.L., I remember, I attended the Virgin Islands Secondary School, and I remember him calling a group of us to come and see him while he was chief minister, and encouraging us to get your GCEO levels. You needed 5. I only had 4. Get your GCEO levels and get on to the University of the West Indies, because he fought long and hard to get his students of the University of the West Indies. At that time, they were asking for A levels, but we didn't have the capability here to accommodate our students to do the A levels. And one of the things Mr. Stoutt said, well, we're paying our contribution, you have the space, you can take them with the O levels. And he fought hard for that. And people like Lorna Smith, Dancia Penn, Elroy Turnbull, and some others were able to go off to the university. I think those were the first group of students under his 10 years chief minister. He got off to the University of the West Indies. And it never stopped. He always was looking out for young people, encouraging them to become educated, offering scholarships. It was just his natural way of caring. And I think I would say it was part of his inner being. And there's a reason probably for it from my perspective, in my opinion, because in those days, and you must have heard, we didn't have the capacity to accommodate all our students, all our children in secondary education. Mr. Stoutt, when he came in, we had the Virgin Islands Secondary School, as I said. I was privileged to go there, but don't start calculating my age. And at that time, it was like accommodating only 121 students, okay? And you go to the primary school, and after that, it was post-primary that you had up to 7th standard, and then you try to find a job in the workforce. But Mr. Stoutt saw that as not good for the development of his country and his people. Yeah. So as he came in as chief minister, one of the first things he said to do was to build schools to accommodate the children of this territory. And he built what some call horse stables. They were these long schools, you know, with just block windows, I think it was, something like that. But we went from 121 to about 800 students.
Wow.
And I always say to people, what would this country have been hadn't he done that? Where would our kids be today? Many of our kids. That school put out lawyers, all the Jerry Ferrara, the Robert Mathavius, prominent people like Sis Malone, lots of people that would not have ordinarily, I mean, Jerry and Robert would have been in the Virgin Islands Secondary School, but a lot of other names that I can call would not have been able to participate in secondary education had he not built those schools.
Incredible.
Okay? Yeah, and that to me is really love, from deepest love for your people.
I totally agree, and of course that's the professional man. P.S. H.L. was your uncle.
Yes, he was my father's brother.
Yeah. Tell me what you are able to share about not the politician, but the family man.
Well, I would say that my father, their father died when he was very young. So my father was one of the older siblings.
Okay.
He along with one of his older brothers helped their mother to raise the younger siblings. So also on an annual basis, when my grandmother was alive, we had to go and visit her every New Year's Day. And we well recall going to his house and everything was in order. We had to be on our best behavior. We had to be on our best behavior when we went to the house. So if you were a little fidgety, when you got to the house, you straightened up.
You had to relax.
You know?
Okay.
So because we know it was HL's house. So there was a different level of behavior
and respect.
Going to his house and different level of respect versus one of my other uncles who we were much more relaxed in one of my other uncles' houses. But we had to basically, you know, our best behavior, straighten up at HL's house.
And that would be a depiction of exactly what Mrs. Ahad Smith was depicting, that structure, that respect, that standard, the very high standard that he brought not only from the house but to the country.
Yes.
Yes, he was a man for that.
Beautiful. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for coming and shedding some light on the man himself. Of course, viewers, we're encouraging you to come out and participate in these activities. The late H.L. Stoutt was born on March 7th, 1929. He served, as was mentioned, as an elected representative consecutively from 1957 up to 1995 and was the territory's very first chief minister. He is credited not only for helping to bring education to a lot of our Virgin Islanders, but also establishing the cruise ship pier, overseeing the construction of the Central Administration Complex, and spearheading the development of the local community college, which is named, of course, in his honor. Ladies, once again, thank you so much, and I will see you at the celebrations. Sure.
You forgot one key thing.
Tell me.
The Social Security Scheme.
Wonderful. The
that
Social
must
Security
never be forgotten.
Okay.
And he got that approved in the Legislative Council by the opposition.
From sitting on the opposition?
No, sitting as the chief minister, but getting the support
of the opposition.
Of the opposition.
Incredible.
And there's one last thing wrong.
Tell me.
Countryman comes to town. I didn't explain what that means.
Please do.
But it takes us back to an era when there was division in this territory with country people versus town people. If you want to understand what we mean by countryman coming to town, you have to come on Monday. You're going to get an understanding, a glimpse into the past for us to understand what was the significance of H.L. Stoutt becoming the first chief minister as a countryman.
Wow, I am so excited and I can't wait. All right, ladies, thank you so much. I will see you at the celebrations.
And thank you for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Viewers, make sure to remember, of course, the contributions of our leaders, such as the late Honorable H. Lavdy Stoutt. And if you want to get an understanding, just like P.S. Stoutt Igwe said, you need to be there at the celebrations. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.